Nobody really talks about them that much. The mac and cheese gets all the love, and oftentimes they're not that good even when you eat them out at restaurants and things like that. Today though, if you follow this recipe, you're gonna change the game. Everyone's gonna be asking you to make them for the holiday season. Meet me in the kitchen, let's make it happen. All right guys, so if you've never made collard greens, I'm gonna let you know a few of the techniques or tips that's gonna make sure that you execute this properly for Thanksgiving. First and foremost, you wanna start with good quality collard greens. That means bright, vibrant green in color. Try to avoid anything that's like yellow or wilted. It's gonna taste a lot better if it's fresh. Next, once you find some bright green collard greens that are nice and fresh, the next step is to go ahead and clean them up. That means remove all of the dirt and grit, nasty stuff that you don't want to eat, get them squeaky clean, and then we're going to prepare them in a way that's going to remove all of the stems and things that don't get tender. We also want to chop them into bite-sized pieces. That's important because they're all going to cook at the same rate and get tender. That way each forkful of collard greens is going to be enjoyable to eat because it's all tender. You don't have bites that are not tender or under or overcooked. Everything's going to be uniform in size. All right guys, so once you have the quality collard greens, they're cleaned and prepped, the next most important thing is the braising liquid. You want to make sure it's extra flavorful. And the way we're going to do that is with smoked turkey meat. You can use pork meat if you want to. Today we're using drum or turkey leg and turkey neck. I like this combination because you get extra meat from the turkey leg. And in my opinion, the turkey neck provides the most flavorful meat for the collard greens. You get the best of both worlds. You get volume and flavor. We're going to add those in there first, followed by 2 onions and 1 head of garlic. This is a 6.5 liter pot, so make sure you have something that's going to be big enough to cook the collard greens that you are preparing for Thanksgiving. If you're making, for a larger family, you're going to a large pot. If it's just you and a few other people, you can have a smaller pot. We're going to fill this up with water, bring this to a boil, and let it simmer until the meat falls off the bone. So the goal here, people, is to make sure you get this liquid as flavorful as humanly possible. So we're gonna go ahead and bring this up to a boil. I'm gonna add in a little chicken bouillon powder, a little bit of my AP seasoning, just to get the party started with some kind of seasoning, some kind of flavor. A lot of this liquid is gonna evaporate, so we don't wanna flavor it up too much because we're gonna lose a lot of that. Once it gets concentrated, we'll shred the meat and then really season this up before we add the collard greens. All right guys, now it's time to get down and dirty. Cooking, in my opinion, is a labor of love. So you can take shortcuts and speed up the process, but you're not gonna get the same results. You can buy the pre-bagged stuff that's already chopped up with all the stems in there and just unequal pieces of collard greens. That's not gonna give you the same result as if you were to make it yourself. So I got my little trash bowl here. I'm gonna get the leaves off the stems. The stems, in my opinion, don't get quite as tender, and they're a little bit more bitter than the leaves. So if you want the best results, I'll recommend following this method here, where you just kind of take the leaf over the stem. You can use your hands and just peel it right off. And then we'll put them in a pile, roll them up, and chop them into bite-sized pieces. After that, we'll go ahead and clean them up. Real simple, a little bit more labor intensive than just chopping them all up, but I promise you they will result in a better pot of collard greens this way. All right guys, so we've reached the point where the meat is nice and tender, just about falling off the bone. We're to go ahead and remove it for a number of reasons. Most importantly, the drumstick has pin bones that you don't want anybody to choke on. So we're gonna go ahead and remove all of that out of our broth, shred the meat, add the meat back in, and then taste for seasoning. You wanna make sure that this is as flavorful as humanly possible before you add those greens in there so the greens can start absorbing that flavor. And then you just simply simmer them until the greens are tender and you season the taste. Simple as that. This down here, my friends, is liquid gold. You want to taste it and adjust it as needed. Get that meat back in there. You got yourself the best collard greens you ever had. All right, folks, so we're approaching the home stretch. Our greens are getting nice and tender. The meat's off the bone. The liquid is reduced enough. Everything's tasting really good. Now's the time to add your finishing touches. I'm gonna add just a teaspoon of this roasted garlic, better than bouillon. I'm gonna add a teaspoon or two of apple cider vinegar. That's one of those things that you can adjust to your personal preferences. You know, some people like a little bit more vinegar in their greens. I don't think that it needs much, so we're gonna add just about a teaspoon or so. I'm gonna add a pinch of sugar as well, some red pepper flakes, and my AP seasoning, and we're done. If your greens are not, you know, bitter at all, you don't have to add the sugar. Just something that I've kind of gotten in the habit of doing. And again, it's just a light pinch, not to make them sweet, but just to kind of balance everything together. Little red pepper flakes, little hot sauce, and we're done. All right, my friends, quick little shameless plug. This recipe and over 100 others can be found in my brand new solo cookbook, Meet Me in the Kitchen. Brace yourself for a trademark money shot. Say it with me, guys. Looking good. Folks, I found my fork. I'm getting the proper ratio of green to turkey meat. Give her a little dunk in the juice. Underrated right here. We're in the kitchen making the most important side dish of all time. If you ruin this, your family may never forgive you, but don't worry, I've got you covered. Today we're making mac and cheese. Meet me in the kitchen, let's make it happen.
All right. That's mac and cheese. Yeah.
Today we got a couple options to increase the flavor or enhance the flavor. One of the things I like to do is either boil my pasta in chicken broth or just use chicken bouillon powder and water. You could also just salt the water. Totally up to you, but I feel like that extra flavor from the chicken bouillon powder really works its way into the macaroni and cheese and gives it a different flavor element. We got heavy cream and half. That's going to be used for our cheese sauce, Parmesan, Colby Jack, cheddar cheese, and mozzarella. We got sour cream, we got my AP seasoning, and my secret ingredient, which is controversial every year, but everybody that's made this before knows that it's delicious, a little sweetened condensed milk. The reason for the sweetened condensed milk is you're using a lot of different flavor combinations and different types of cheese. Some of them are sharp, some of them are smoky if you're using smoked Gouda, things of that nature. That little hint of sweetness marries everything together. Think about the utilization of sugar in pasta sauces like, you know, spaghetti sauce, for example. It balances the acidity a little bit and just marries the flavors together. That's where that comes into play. All right, guys, obviously you can't have good mac and cheese without good quality cheese. So a couple pro tips right out the gate. I recommend shredding your own cheese for a number of reasons. First and foremost, store-bought shredded cheese has anti-caking agents, things like potato starch, which prevent it from clumping up in the bag, but it also prevents it from melting nicely. And a lot of times it'll make your cheese sauce gritty and your end product's not gonna be as good. So I like to break it down into flavor profiles, right? So I got my Colby Jack, which in my opinion melts the prettiest on top of the mac and cheese to give you that nice color, and it browns up nicely. That's going on the top of the mac and cheese. When we're building our flavors on the inside or the cheese sauce, we got something that's pretty mild in flavor like mozzarella. That's gonna be kind of the base. Then we have our cheddar, which is, you know, traditional in your mac and cheese. And then we got something like a smoked Gouda. Also like things like Munster, Fontina are good options as well. But these are the ones we're going with the addition of Parmesan cheese too, which is gonna bring a little nuttiness and some salt. So to go ahead and shred our Colby Jack first and set that to the side because that is gonna be the topping. You could also throw it in the cheese mixture too, it's delicious. But I really think that it, you know, melts the nicest and gives you the prettiest presentation when you go to do your mac and cheese. Cheddar, a lot of people put on top, but I don't think it melts that well. Not nearly as good as Colby Jack. And I think it browns up a little bit too much. Not exactly sure why. I'm sure there's some scientists in the comments that'll let me know, but Colby Jack, in my opinion, for somebody that's been making mac and cheese forever, it's the best. So once you have your cheese shredded, oftentimes you're left with these little end pieces that didn't quite make the cut. You got a couple choices for that. So you can make like a charcuterie board as an appetizer for your guests for Thanksgiving, Or one of the things that I like to do is save them, cut them into bite-sized pieces, and then sprinkle them throughout the casserole dish so that as the mac and cheese bakes, you get little pockets of extra cheesiness. You're gonna get a really great cheese pull when somebody's fork hits that pocket. So another pro tip for you. All right, guys, now it's time to make the cheese sauce, and I am a fan of using a roux for the cheese sauce for mac and cheese. I don't really use egg with mine. So today we're gonna go ahead and melt a half stick of butter. To that, we're going in with 2 or 3 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. The more flour you use, the thicker the consistency of your mac and cheese is gonna be. So if you like the brick style mac and cheese, you wanna go a little heavier on the roux. If you like yours a little bit more loose and creamy, then you can just use the 2 or 3 tablespoons that I just discussed. So we're gonna mix that in. We wanna cook that raw flour taste off. You want it to become one with the butter. Classic roux style. We're making a blonde roux here. So just get your spatula working. Make sure nothing's sticking to the bottom and burning. And just give it a good 1 or 2 minutes to really cook that raw flour taste off. You don't want that ruining our delicious cheese sauce we're about to make. Next up, we're going in with 4 cups of cream. You can use heavy cream, half and half, or a blend of the two. 4 cups in total for 1 pound of macaroni pasta. We're gonna break out the whisk, give that a good mix. And then we wanna bring this up to a boil. Once it reaches a boil, you'll notice that it starts to thicken up a bit, and that is because the flour has worked its way into the cream, and you have yourself the basics of a sauce here. Once that happens, we'll start adding in our cheese. Another pro tip is to not add your cheese when the liquid is boiling hot, because what will happen is the fat will start to separate from the cheese and it'll get oily. So if you ever had a mac and cheese, that's usually what happened there. So we're just gonna gradually bring this up to a gentle boil, then turn it down to a simmer, start adding in our cheese, season to taste, and we'll be right where we wanna be. All right, so our sauce is coming together nicely. Now it's time to start adding the cheese. Before we do that, though, I'm going in with a 1/4 cup of sour cream. You could also use cream cheese if you want to. I like the flavor of the sour cream. Kind of blends well with everything else. But the cream cheese, if you want to do that, it's going to add a nice creamy note to it. The sour cream does that also, but cream cheese is obviously a little creamier. All about how you want your mac and cheese to turn out. I'm going sour cream. Sometimes I do cream cheese if I'm trying to keep it a little bit more on the mild side, flavor-wise. But we're going to mix that sour cream in, and then in goes 1 tablespoon of the secret ingredient. Inevitably, somebody's going to comment about this and say something bad, and that same person has never tried it. 1 tablespoon. It is impossible for 1 tablespoon of sweetened condensed milk to make this big pot of mac and cheese sweet. It's just there as a background flavored note to kind of, bring everything together. So I'm going to give that a mix, and now it's time to start adding in the cheese. You want the residual heat in there to start melting the cheese. You don't want the heat or the flame on high. So in goes the parm first. As always, guys, the specific measurements and ingredients for this recipe can be found on MrMakeItHappen.com. Got printable directions, printable recipes on the website. Smoked Gouda's going in, mozzarella's going in, and then finally the cheddar. Just add a little bit at a time, give it a mix, and just let that residual heat melt the cheese nicely. No fat separating, no sauce breaking. Then we'll start to season this up. Remember, we boiled our noodles in chicken bouillon powder, which is pretty salty. So you don't want to go too crazy on the seasoning too early. You want to taste your noodles, taste the sauce. There's a lot of sodium in a lot of these cheeses too. So you want to taste everything before you get heavy-handed on the seasoning. As you can see, the cheese is melting beautifully, and you just keep adding a little bit at a time. All right, so now I'm going to season it up, just a pinch of chicken bouillon powder. Let's go add a little MSG and deliciousness. Some smoked paprika, that's going to play off the smokiness from the smoked Gouda. Don't go too crazy on that though. You use regular paprika if you want to. And then my all-purpose seasoning, which is a blend of salt, pepper, garlic, and onion powder. And that's really all you need, guys. You got plenty of flavor in your pasta. Plenty of flavor from the seasonings we just used. Don't get too crazy. Just gonna mix that in, and we'll be ready to put this in the casserole dish and get that in the oven. That's the consistency you want to see though on your cheese sauce. It should almost be like a fondue. For anybody that's ever been to a fondue station at an event or. All right, so now you're gonna add your cheese sauce right on in there to your cooked pasta. That's the sounds of love right there. But again, this is kind of a personal preference thing. You can make it as, you know, cheesy as you want to, as thick as you want to, or as loose as you want to. This is about the consistency I like of mine, which is probably about, you know, 3/4 of the cheese sauce that we made. But everything is well coated, like you see here. All right, guys, so if it's not cheesy and flavorful enough, it's time to sneak in some little pockets of cheesy deliciousness. That way, if you ever want to take a video, you know you're going to have an adequate cheese pull. Just space them out nicely. These are going to melt right on into the center. And this is a thick enough mac and cheese that's kind of going to hold it right there. So when you go to hit it with your fork, you should have a nice little cheese pocket. Obviously, you can skip this step, guys. This is kind of some behind the scenes magic on how we get cheese pulls in the industry that I'm in. But if you like cheese, I mean, it is mac and cheese, right? It's the second thing listed in the title. I think we're good though. Now we're gonna go ahead and top it with that Colby Jack I talked about. Just a nice thin layer of that. It's gonna melt beautifully, give you that dual color, that white and that yellow. That's gonna brown up nicely in the oven. And you will win this show at Thanksgiving this year, or Christmas, or Friendsgiving, or whenever you decide to make this. All right, people, it's time. The mac and cheese is out of the oven. We're gonna let it rest for at least 10 to 15 minutes before you slice into it or scoop it out, whatever you wanna call it. This is the part where I say brace yourself for a trademark money shot. Say it with me, guys, looking good. The only thing left to do is dig in for the taste test, but before we do that, please take a quick second to subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit that bell to enable notifications as well. All right, people, this recipe and 100 plus more can be found in my brand new cookbook, Meet Me in the Kitchen. This cookbook is very high quality. It's got tons of great recipes in it. All right, guys, enough running my big mouth. It's time to dig in for the taste test, aka my favorite part of the job. Woo. Fellas, if you're having trouble with her mom or her dad, and they invite you over to Thanksgiving, and you bring them this, you're gonna be good. Or if you mess it up, it might ruin everything. Practice a couple of times before you do that. Holiday season is coming in hot, and no holiday spread is complete without candied yams. Today I'm going to show you a quick, easy, and delicious stovetop method that's going to save you some oven space during the holidays. Meet me in the kitchen, let's make it happen.
Maybe the world's greatest hot. This is good. Is this citrus?
It's perfect. Yeah, that orange.
I got a bite. Can I get to the yams? Sweet.
All right, people, first things first, let's take a look at these ingredients and let's address the elephant in the room. We call them candied yams, but really they're sweet potatoes. We have 4 medium-sized sweet potatoes here: cinnamon, nutmeg, maple extract, butter extract, and vanilla extract. I like to go the extra mile with some of these flavors. If you want to just use vanilla extract, that's cool, but I'm telling you the maple and the butter extract really take the flavor profile to the next level. We got a stick of butter, we got a pinch of sugar, we got a little ginger, and some oranges, which those two ingredients to me really take the flavor of these candied yams to new heights. You can keep it simple, but I'm telling you, a little ginger and a little orange really elevate the flavor here. Of course, you can't have candied yams without sugar. We got white and brown sugar because we don't discriminate, 1 cup of each. All right, folks, the equipment you're gonna need now is a nice sharp knife, a potato peeler, and a bowl to clean your potatoes. This is a good way to save a little time. When it comes to sweet potatoes, you really wanna make sure you got a nice sharp knife. Otherwise, they can really be a pain to cut. You can cut them however you want to. Typically, I dice mine up or cube them, but today we're gonna leave them more traditional. Nice little circles here. People always complain when I dice them up. I don't know why, but hey, this one's for you, the complainers out there. All right, folks, as with most delicious holiday recipes, this is getting started with a stick of butter. You want to use good quality butter. I got Kerrygold today. It's grass-fed butter, high quality. Use whatever's in the budget. This is a little bit more on the expensive side. However, around the holidays, a lot of times you can find it on sale. And when you do find it on sale, you want to stock up and put it in the fridge. There's other options out there. Finlandia is a good one. You know, there's tons of good grass-fed butters out there. Nice bright yellow, as you can see right here. Great flavor. We're going to go ahead and melt that down. Then I'm going in with 1 cup of brown sugar and 1 cup of white sugar. We're going to give that a mix. Get our diabetes acting up right out the gate. Man. Candy yams. Let me know in the comments what your favorite holiday side is and what your favorite holiday combination is. A lot of people are going to say candy yams and mac and cheese. I think stuffing is highly underrated, or dressing, whatever you want to call it. Highly underrated. And collard greens don't get the respect they deserve sometimes too. But let me know what you think in the comments. We're going to get that going. I'm also going to go ahead and cut one of these oranges because we're going to use the orange juice. Again, you may not be accustomed to this, but it's one of the secret ingredients in my candy yams. It's fairly common, but I know sometimes when I post these recipes, people are a little surprised at the addition of orange juice. It's going to add a little bit of citrus, and this, you know, oranges are a little sweeter than, say, a lemon. So you get a little bit of the best of both worlds there. Get all the juice up out of there. Next up, we're going to add some orange zest as well. So you get the flavor from the orange without the acid. So it kind of amplifies what we get from the orange juice. This is optional, but I really enjoy it in my candy yams. We're going to go ahead and throw it in there. A lot of times you kind of see the little specks popping out when you plate it up. Gives a good presentation as well. So there we go. Get that in there. 1 to 2 teaspoons of ginger. Give that a mix. You want to keep your heat on medium to medium low. You don't want it to be too high. You don't want the sugar to burn. We're going to add the sweet potatoes to this and toss them around. They're going to expel a little bit of their natural water, which is going to thin this sauce out a little bit and stretch it as well. And this should be just enough for the amount of sweet potatoes we got today. Before we do that, though, we're going in with the butter extract, the maple extract, and the vanilla extract. About a half teaspoon of butter extract, a half teaspoon of maple, and then 1 to 2 teaspoons of vanilla, depending on how much vanilla flavor you like in your candy yams. It's customizable to your preferences. Next up, we're putting a boatload of cinnamon in there. So we're looking at a good 1 to 2 tablespoons to start out, and then I like to add a little bit more once I get the sweet potatoes in there. Now, when it comes to nutmeg, you don't want to go as crazy as you do with the cinnamon because it's, you know, a little bit goes a long way. So I'd use about 1/3 or 1/4 of what you do when it comes to the cinnamon. Let's give that a good mix. This is looking good. In goes our salt. Salt's going to wake everything up, kind of bring all the flavors together. And now it's time to get those sweet potatoes in there. Again, guys, this is going to free you up from having to deal with the oven. A lot of stuff goes in the oven during the holiday season. This is something you do on the stovetop. It speeds up the process, and it'll save you some oven space. All right, people, we're about half the way done at this point. As you can see, we have a lot more volume in terms of our liquid here, and that's because a lot of the water is coming out of the sweet potatoes, as we discussed earlier. It's smelling heavenly in here. If I could jar this up and make it a candle, I might be able to retire from YouTube. This smells so good in here. Once the potatoes are nice and tender, we're going to remove them from the pot, and then we're going to really concentrate on getting this syrup, or whatever you want to call it, a little bit thicker. So we're going to boil it down and reduce it, let the flavors concentrate, adjust the flavor profile as needed, pour that over our sweet potatoes before it's time to serve them. Always, guys, taste as you go, adjust the flavor to your preference. There's different ways you can switch the flavor up here. You could add things like bourbon or whiskey. You can use spiced rum. There's a number of ways that you can make this your own recipe. We're keeping it kind of simple today. Again, this is going to be delicious, and it saves you some oven space, and it comes together in about half the time if you were to cook them in the oven. All right, guys, we got about 5 minutes left to go here. The sauce, or the syrup, is starting to caramelize a little more and thicken up. I'm going to hit it with a little bit more cinnamon You always want to taste as you go, adjust the flavor to your preference. A pinch more cinnamon's going in now. Then we're just going to fold that in. And man, you got something special on your hands. Pair this up right beside the macaroni and cheese on your plate and thank me later. Can't go wrong with a nice batch of candy yams. I have other recipes for this too. We got sweet potato casserole on the channel. We've got candy yams in the oven. Multiple different options for you today or any day on YouTube. So go ahead and search the channel for that. But if you need something quick, easy, and efficient, this is the way to go. All right, people, once the potatoes are fork tender and they taste just the way you want them, it's time to plate them up. This is the part where I say brace yourself for a trademark money shot. Say it with me, guys, looking good. The only thing left to do is dig in for the taste test. But before we do that, please take a quick second to subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit that bell to enable notifications as well. All right, guys, as you can see, we added a little extra syrup because why the hell not? We're here for a good time, not a long time. You can see the potatoes are fork tender, breaking right apart with the fork. I'm going to go ahead and get in here for a bite. Oh, man. Look at that. That's what you want to see. Here goes nothing. What's up, guys? Welcome back. It's hard to believe it, but it's already the holiday season, and it's time to get you guys ready with some of these holiday recipes. There's no better place to start than with dressing. Today, I'm going to show you not one, but two different ways to make it. Meet me in the kitchen. Let's make it happen. And prep our veggies. We have two different preparations today for the cornbread and sausage stuffing. We're using just onion and celery. And for the seafood stuffing, we're using, and I keep saying stuffing and dressing interchangeably. You guys can complain about it in the comments if you like, but I just grew up saying stuffing. I know that it's technically dressing. We're using the Cajun Trinity for the seafood stuffing or dressing. That's going to be onions, bell pepper, and celery. Real simple prep. You want a nice fine dice on this. You don't want huge chunks of bell pepper or celery in your stuffing. Unless you do, then you can, chop it however you see fit. But for me, I want nice fine dice on my veggies. If you're in the market for a new sharp knife, I have one available for you at MrMakeItHappen.com. It's on sale right now. Use the code STAYSHARP at checkout and get 40% off. So what we have here is 2 pounds of sausage, 1 stick of butter. Every holiday recipe needs a stick of butter in my opinion. In goes the onion and the celery. I'm going to sweat that down. I'm also going to add some fresh herbs, the kind you cook with, not the kind that cook you. We got a little rosemary and thyme. We got some sage. I love sage in my stuffing. It's delicious. Little pinch of parsley. Going in with a tablespoon of garlic and a tablespoon of Italian and herb paste. Give that a good mix. And then we'll start to season the taste. Once we get it where we want it, we're going to go ahead and add in our chicken broth. You can make the chicken broth from scratch if you want to, but I like to just dress it up with a little chicken bouillon powder to add or amplify the flavor. You can also use the Better Than Bouillon product we talked about earlier. Really no right or wrong way to do it, guys. Once you get it in there, just make sure you taste and adjust, the seasoning to your preference. You can make your cornbread from scratch if you want to, or you can buy the Pepperidge Farms. Nice and easy. Save the delicious cornbread that you make for your guests, serve on the side. But if you want to really go the extra mile, you can make that from scratch too. For the seasoning, we're going in with some of my all-purpose. If you don't have this, you can use whatever all-purpose you like, or you can grab this at MrMakeItHappen.com. We're also going in with that chicken bouillon powder that we talked about. We already got the garlic and the Italian paste in there, so this thing is loaded with flavor. You get flavor from the sausage and the fat rendering into that butter. And then, my friends, we're going in with the cornbread. So, I'm going to start to fold this in. I like to mix in a little bit of the cube stuff here as well. Mostly cornbread, though. I just think that gives it a little extra body. And that prevents it from being like overly sweet, because sometimes the Pepperidge Farms is a little bit on the sweeter end, which I enjoy, but I don't want it to be overkill, So we got that in there. I'm going to add about a half a bag of this. All the ingredients and measurements and all that good stuff is listed for you at MrMakeItHappen.com as well. And my bag almost split on me. All right, guys, so at this point, you want to mix in 4 cups of chicken broth. You're going to season to taste. You really want to taste this as you go before you add in the eggs. That way you know your flavor is spot on before you can't taste it anymore. All right, guys, one of the keys here is to not add the eggs until this cools a bit. This is the consistency that you want to see right there. It looks absolutely delicious, and it tastes good because I've been, you know, snacking on it a little more than I probably should, but hey, what you going to do? We're going to go ahead and mix in our eggs now. This is going to bind everything together nicely. Some people say you don't need to add eggs to your stuffing. I always have, and my stuff is probably better than yours, so you should listen. We're going to go ahead and fold this in, give it a good mix, get it in our casserole dish, and set it aside until we make our seafood dressing, and that's going to go into the oven at the same time. That way we can plate it up nice and pretty, get our thumbnails, and allow you guys to see the final products. So, into the casserole dish we go. I'm glad I had those extra few bites because it fits in there perfectly. One of the other little pro tips I like to give here, or something that I like to do when I make dressing or stuffing, is I like to leave little ridges in there. That way, those little ridges that you make are going to get extra crispy. So take your spatula and kind of just make lines in the stuffing for dressing. I can't help myself. And then go on the other way, make like a checkerboard pattern. Those little ridges are going to get extra crispy as it bakes. And that's some of the best bites right there, those crispy bites. All right, folks, now it's time for the seafood stuff. And we have 1 stick of butter melting in our skillet. To that, we're going to add the Cajun Trinity, which is, again, bell pepper, onion, and celery. If you want to spice this up, you can add a little jalapeno if you want to. For Thanksgiving, I try not to make anything too spicy because, you know, you got a ton of house guests. Everybody has a different spice tolerance, but hey, you know your people better than I do. We got the veggies in. I'm going to let them sweat down in that butter. Once they get nice and tender, we're going to go ahead and add in the garlic and the seafood. Let that come together. And then it'll be time to start adding in our stuffing mix. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and add in 2 tablespoons of garlic paste. Get some good garlic flavor up in there. Start to season a little bit, a little AP. My new Cajun blend will be on the market in about 3 or 4 weeks. I'm going to hit it with a little chicken bouillon as a flavor enhancer. And now it's time to go ahead and get that seafood in there. Starting with our shrimp, we cut the shrimp in half, make it a little bit more bite-sized. Then we got our bay scallops. And we got a card notes worth of crab meat. This is fresh, right from the Chesapeake Bay. Got the crab fat in there and everything. It's going to add tremendous flavor. All right, now it's time to go ahead and add in our stuffing mix. I'm going to fold that in. Then I'm going to add a little bit of the cornbread as well, just to add a hint of sweetness to play off the natural sweetness from the crab and some of the seafood flavors. And then we'll start to add in, we need about 4 cups of that seafood stock that we made. We'll begin to add that in as well. All right, so we have our seafood in there, all of our stuffing mix. We're going to go ahead and add in 4 cups of this fantastic seafood stock we made homemade. You don't have to make it homemade, though. You can grab some chicken broth or use a little water with the lobster base. Kind of get a similar effect there. I'm going to get that in there, give everything a good mix, make sure things come together nicely. Season to taste as always. Then we're going to add a beaten egg to kind of hold everything together. Get that in our casserole dish and get that ready for the oven. And this is the part where I say, brace yourself for a trademark money shot. Say it with me, guys. Looking good. The only thing left to do is dig in for the taste test. But before we do that, please take a quick second to subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit that bell to enable notifications as well. All right, guys, I got my fork. It's officially time for the moment of truth. I'm going in for the seafood version first. To me, this kind of tastes like a deviled crab if you ever had one. Fantastic. Tons of crab meat just falling all out of there. Still moist, still flavorful. The sage, sausage, and cornbread stuffing. That might be a little better. Simple sometimes is best, and it's about $1 million cheaper than the seafood one. We're back in the kitchen with yet another holiday classic side dish. In my opinion, one of the most slept on, underrated side dishes out there. I'm gonna show you how to make perfect, delicious green bean casserole. Meet me in the kitchen, let's make it happen.
I absolutely despise green beans.
I love green beans. How you not like green beans?
Ate too many of them as a kid. Here we go.
Texture, flavor.
It's everything you need.
All right, guys, if you've had green bean casserole in the past and it sucked, it's likely because the green beans came out of a can. They dumped some cream of mushroom soup or something gross like that in there, and they just topped it with some fried onions and popped it in the oven. Today, we're not doing that. Green beans in the can's not the end of the world. I've actually made it like that in the past. Today, we're using fresh, though. We're also going to make our own cream sauce. So basically like a bechamel cheese sauce. No cream of mushroom, cream of celery, none of that garbage. No offense to y'all that eat cream of mushroom, but not my thing. We're gonna go ahead first and foremost and dice up this onion though. You can fry your own onions from scratch, or you can buy the French's fried onions from the soup aisle of your grocery store. They make a really good product. So today we're gonna add some diced onions to our bacon, and that's gonna be mixed in with the green beans as well. If you don't eat bacon, you can totally leave out the bacon in this recipe or use beef bacon as a substitute. But today we're going with the pork. Nice fine dice on the onions. All right, guys, so we got about a half a pound of bacon that we're frying up. We're gonna use that bacon fat to mix with our butter to form our roux for the sauce we were talking about. No flavor left behind as always. We're gonna go ahead and blanch the green beans as well. Make sure you salt your water for that. I'm gonna add some flavor to those green beans right out the gate. We're gonna blanch them maybe 5-6 minutes, start to get them nice and tender. Then we're gonna drain them off, set them aside until we need them a little bit later. Go ahead and preheat that oven to 375 as well while you cook your bacon. Quick reminder, guys, that all my principal recipes are on my website at MrMakeItHappen.com. You can find all the step-by-step ingredients, measurements, directions, all that good stuff at MrMakeItHappen.com. All right, guys, so we're gonna go ahead and reduce the heat down to low. That way we don't burn anything. We got a half a stick of butter in here and that bacon fat. If you have too much bacon fat, you can drain some, but this bacon didn't really render a whole lot of fat, so we're leaving it in there. We're gonna add some flavor as well. Just gonna go ahead and saute those onions. Nothing smells better than onions and bacon fat. Maybe a little garlic. We're gonna add that here in a second too, once the onions tenderize a bit. So we're gonna go in with about a tablespoon of garlic, season that with my AP, plus one of my new flavors, buttery garlic pepper. This stuff is fire, it's good on everything. I've been using it a whole lot lately. You guys are gonna love this. Gonna add that in along with some smoked paprika. The smoked paprika is gonna add a little color, and the smokiness is gonna play off the bacon flavor as well. Gonna be really good. The last seasoning I'm gonna add is a little chicken bouillon powder. That's gonna add a little MSG and just, you know, enhance the flavor quite a bit. Now it's time to go ahead and add in our flour. I'm going in with about a 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour. This is effectively going to make the roux that we were talking about, which is going to be the thickening agent for our cheese sauce. All right, so once you cook that raw flour off for about 2 or 3 minutes, we're going in with 1.5 cups of chicken broth and 1.5 cups of whole milk or half and half. You can even use heavy cream if you want to. Whatever you got in the fridge will get the job done. We're going to go ahead and give that a mix, bring that up to a simmer, add in the cream, taste and adjust, and then we're going to add in our cheese, and that is going to be what we're going to combine with the green beans for our casserole. All right, guys, so now we're going to go ahead and grate our cheese. I'm using Gruyere and Parmesan today. I like that blend because it's a little bit sharp. It's going to have some really great flavors. It's going to, you know, elevate the green beans, which by themselves can be a little bit bland, but we have this sauce with a little bacon, a little rosemary, some Gruyere cheese, some Parmesan. You can really use whatever cheese you like, guys, but these are the two that I'm going with today. All right, guys, so we got our oven preheated at 375. We have a 9x11 casserole dish. You want to mix all of your ingredients together and then add that to your casserole dish, and we're going to top it with some fried onions. You can fry your onions from scratch if you want to. I find that sometimes during the baking process, the homemade fried onions get a little bit too overcooked or almost burnt, in my opinion. So I really do like to use the store-bought stuff. But if you want to be an overachiever, no big deal. You can go ahead and fry them up, maybe mix them together. We're going to go ahead and pop this in the oven at 375 for about 25 to 30 minutes. All right, guys, after 25 minutes in the oven, it's absolutely perfect. We let it rest for about 10, 12 minutes, let everything come back together. This is the part where I say, brace yourself for a trademark money shot. Say it with me, guys, looking good. The only thing left to do is dig in for the taste test, but before we do that, please take a quick second to subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit that bell to enable notifications as well. All right, guys, look, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. I'm super hungover today, but I think that this might be the cure. It looks good, smells good. Let's see what it tastes like. Quick reminder, all the recipes that you see on this channel are found on my website, mrmakeithappen.com. Printable versions, directions, all that good stuff. Enough running my mouth. The green beans still got just enough chew. Not soggy, super flavorful. The bacon and the rosemary. Man.
That was funny.
That's a side dish right there.
It's vegan.
Keto. Fish.